Hello.
I'm glad it's not an empty room. Right, I'll put my timer on. Right, I think the structure is 10 minutes chat, sorry, presentation, and then I think 15 minutes Q&A. So let me try to share my screen. So I decided that I want to actually run the whole presentation using a mind mapping tool called XMind. Um, so hopefully this is the first time I'm doing such a presentation. So hopefully it will flow well. If not, give me a shout and I'll try to fix whatever's wrong. So my name is Manoj Ranaweera. I live in Manchester, UK. And for the last 20 years or so, I have been building tech companies and related ventures with many failures. I had two exits, so I'll sort of look at some of those exits and discuss about what I'm doing and some of the findings on the way. I think we had great speakers today. A lot of people had amazing experiences and talk about what they're doing now. But I thought it would be good to sort of summarize what a post-exit scenario looks like. I think it's either life-changing or not. So if it's life-changing, you might think about retirement, at least for a short period, but then you have endless options because you don't have to work again unless you lose the money that you just got. Obviously, everybody wants to be your friend. If it's not life-changing, you have limited options. So what are these options? So you had exit, you had some money coming in your way, um, and you decided that you want to do something with it. I'm not talking about buying assets, buying yachts, anything like that. I'm just talking about what you're going to do afterwards. So there are a couple of options. One is that you might decide to become an investor. Quite a lot of people actually become an investor because they know that it was really hard to build a company and they don't really want to go through that pain again. So instead of that, they're happy to take a bet on others. And obviously, if things works out, they will enjoy you know, when those companies have exit. So typical way of becoming an investor is that you either join a fund, create your own, or you join a business angel group, syndicate. You could lead or you could be part of that. However, I mean, obviously you could go through all three, right? But if you decide to become some sort of an advisor, there are many different options. You could become a consultant, advisor, coach, mentor, board member. It could be a chairman, could be a non-exec director, or you might decide saying, actually, I want to just get a job, or you could be sought after an exit, or you might decide saying, okay, actually, I enjoyed it. Yes, I'm going to take a break, but I want to come back and build another company or try to build another company. So I'll talk a little bit about myself. So I'm a late bloomer. I only started my company when I turned 36. But if you think about 2004, when I started, the landscape was completely different. There were very few companies who called themselves tech, and we haven't really fully recovered from the dot-com bust towards the end of 2000s. Sorry, 1999, 2000. So the landscape was different. And when I started, I didn't plan to start a business. I was doing an MBA, then I joined a tech startup from London. As an investor employee, I was going to put £50,000 in and run a division. But those days, there were no TechCrunch or anything like that. 2004, there was no information about tech companies whatsoever, really. And soon after I joined, I found out they have a massive black hole. So I withheld my investment and company went into voluntary liquidation. But I thought, hey, I can build a company. So I took the idea forward, but basically end up spending the next 2 years losing all my savings and then realized that actually I don't know how to build a company. I didn't know how to build a product. Up to that time, I basically been an employee of a very large multinational company. So what that failure after 2006 led me to actually do something about where I live, Manchester. There was nothing here. We had great history, but no tech ecosystem at all. So I ended up actually building the tech ecosystem from 2006 to 2013. I was the only guy who did anything here. But if you look at Manchester now, it's massive in terms of tech. So my first exit was we ran the UK's first black tie event to celebrate tech entrepreneurship. A little bank, investment bank called GP Bullhound. Probably nobody heard about them at that time. One of the founders was from Manchester, so he came back and he acquired it, and that gave them a foothold. GP Bullhound is now well heard of in UK, and also they are across the world now. So I closed my business in 2006, but obviously by that time I caught on the disease. I call it a disease because once you are in it, you can't get out. I started my next business, which is edocker.com. And eventually I had exit in 2015. Before the exit, I have already started on the next company. So unlike some of the speakers you heard, I didn't stop. I had a break, but I already got a next company underway. Sadly, just because you had an exit doesn't mean that everything you touch after that will become a success. In my case, it wasn't. I built a company called Unified View, and the idea is that the world is full of everybody use many different software. What if you can build a user interface that brings data from multiple software and it gives you new user experiences? Every time we talk to customers, we had customers, but we couldn't hit product market fit. So that was a failure. But what happened was that I folded that into one of the things I'm doing now. So during this period, obviously, if you think about building a tech company, you could, there are multiple ways you can go about. One is that you could decide to take venture capital. The other one, you could decide to bootstrap as long as you can. Obviously, there are hybrids of the two. If you decide to take venture capital, then the typical model is that you raise an investment round until you hit a certain milestone, and then you raise another round. And what's happening right now, if you look at the market, is that especially this year and last year, is that most of those companies couldn't hit the next milestone, and therefore they had to call the receivers because they couldn't restructure the business to not without that continuous funds coming in, they couldn't survive. So you have to be careful when you build a business, which route you're going to take. And secondly, we are all individuals. Some of us could run faster, some of us can't. So if you take on venture capital, you got to be able to run faster. I'm 56. I'm a little bit slow. So what I decided to do after the exit, especially when I'm 56 now, when I turned 50, I thought about what I have been doing, and I decided that all I'm going to do from now on is continue to do what I've been doing since I turned 36, which is to help people build tech companies. And in the process, I didn't want to become somebody just advice. I want to practice what I preach. So I want to build my own tech companies as well as helping others. So I sort of broke it down saying, I want to build 5 companies over the next 20 years. One is, when I looked around, you got to have knowledge in order to build a company. There's so much knowledge around. Sometimes it's overwhelming. And the best knowledge you can actually get is not from a consultant, but from your peers. So remember, I built the Manchester tech ecosystem. So I thought I could do the version 2 of that. Right now, Manchester is thriving. So there's no need for one person to try to make an impact. You can't, because there are a lot of different players. So I created an environment where tech founders come together and we share knowledge, and I created what's called Techcelerate. So Techcelerate was the previous brand, but I brought it back. So if you want to build a company, you need to understand the competitive landscape. You also, most founders, doesn't matter how much you try to help, they always want money. Right? I'm at 10 minutes gone, so I'll wrap it up quickly. So my second company, what I focus on is bringing intelligence together so that people can find investors. But you can't build a company if you don't have talent. But if you actually look at the market, 99% of the companies don't actually get investment. So you might have a great idea, but you might not be running an investable business because investors are sometimes looking for 100x exit. 10x is typical, but sometimes they're looking for much larger multiples. So what about, if you're not going to get investments and eventually going to run out of cash, if you don't get to a point of generating sufficient revenues, you're stuck. So what if you can have free talent? So when COVID hit, I came up with the idea, which is called SkilledUp Life. So now we have 52,000 skilled volunteers exclusively for tech companies. For as little as 30 pounds, you could have a team now. Obviously, they are different from paid talent, but nevertheless, we got some brilliant talent among that 52,000. So when you actually look around, there's no excuse why you can't build a company because you have knowledge, there are intelligence out there, as well as from us, but also now you got talent as well. So basically, my talk is about building communities, which I have been doing since 2006, and also trying to build products that are useful to that community. So my community is tech founders. And I think one of the other things I've done this time, which is different from past, is that I got a community and I built these products for them to start with, then obviously went outside that community. So that community provided, let's say, a proof of concept environment. And I think, you've probably seen other companies doing the same thing. If you have a community and then you build products to help that community, then you have a chance of higher success. So I'll stop that, and we can have a conversation. And I'm happy to answer any questions. We got a few people here, so that's good. Anyone want to ask any questions? You need to unmute. No?
How many ventures have you put through the studio?
No, I don't run a studio. So
Okay.
Techcelerate is different. What we want to be is we want to be a trusted partner in your start to exit life.
Okay.
Okay, so we are a bit like a club in a way. And that means those tech founders in Techcelerate are okay to go out to attend accelerators, go through startup studios, whatever they want to do. But we want to be the trusted partner, sharing of all our collective wisdom so that hopefully
Okay.
people make less mistakes. And we also have partners and others.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I missed the beginning of
Okay,
the
I didn't
breakout
go
room.
into too
So,
much detail.
yeah, yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Right? Anyway, I mean, do you want to talk about what you're building? Or
Yeah,
whether
I'd like to
yeah,
share. Hi, I'm Lloyd Altman. I'm based here in New York City. I've exited three companies, interestingly enough, in the financial services industry, financial services technology industry. And if you could see behind me, but I'm a cellist, so there's my cello over there behind the music stand. And it's important to have other passions. I started off as a professional cellist before I changed careers, so I was able to go back to it again, which is cool. And currently, after a few months of not doing anything, so to speak, so I'm way older than you. I'm retirement age. I'm actually collecting Social Security. Um, I joined a company founded by our former babysitter, who herself is in her 50s, um, and invested in it. So I put my money where my mouth is, and now I'm putting my mouth where my money is. I'm the chief growth officer for the company. Like you get to the point where you get involved, and next thing you know, you want to join the company. Next thing you know, you're actually helping to grow the company. And it's live. And actually, I'm out there in the market now, helping to find other investors to take it, you know, to the next level. And the quick version is that it's an application that lets you see all the environmental toxins within a 3-mile radius of anywhere in the United States, with a scoring system so you can compare locations for new home buyers, for parents, for pretty much anyone. And it's all PA related data, sourced. So, and we have environmental scientists on staff. So that's what I'm doing right now. And now I'm just as passionate about it as the other companies that I built. And that's a fun thing too. So finding a passion, and then helping to grow another company all over again, even when you're not only exited but retired, is kind of cool.
Oh, thank you very much for sharing that experience.
Sounds like an amazing story, Lloyd. We'll have to catch up afterwards.
Yeah,
So,
sure.
right,
Love
anyone
that.
else?
Can't wait to see the data from that be as widely available through all kinds of decisions. I think about like farmers market produce and regional farms and things like that, and water sources and so
Yeah,
many.
so
Yeah.
I'll type in the chat. You should just go to the website.
Right, anyone else want to talk about or ask me anything or just...
Yeah, I have a question. Is it Manoj? I came in a little
Yes.
late. Did I say
Yes,
that correct?
it is Justin.
Okay. Your 3 ventures, I caught the third one that you're running right now in most detail. What's the geographic footprint that you tend to service through those 3 ventures relative to your previous Manchester focus?
Yeah, so Techcelerate is very much UK focus, because I looked at it, there's no way in hell that I could build a global brand. It's a very close-knit community, so I've known some of the founders for a long time. Lite, again, there's no hell in chance that I could beat PitchBooks or Crunchbase. There's no point. What I really want to do is to understand what happens in UK, and I was not happy with some of the data available with our competitors. So again, the focus is UK, but if you are then selling into UK tech companies, you can use that data, for example. And third one is global, SkilledUp Life. So we have 52,000 volunteers coming from 139 countries. Most of our tech startup customers come from UK and US, but also they're scattered across Asia and Africa. So that is a little bit of a crazy company because we have about 80 volunteers ourselves. So we try to be our own best customer. Volunteers are different from paid talent. So we are learning through and we are sharing our experience with our customers as well. It's challenging, but because when you think about the globe, it's very hard for a startup to consider it. And any given time, even our 80, obviously that goes up and down, and we're trying to balance across, and it's really, really hard, but it's fun.
Yeah. I'm curious about 2 things on the staffing, the SkilledUp Life model. I'm curious is this full-time workers for a year? Is it half-time workers for 90 days? Like, I'm curious how that model looks, and is there generally a favored ascension model, like from an internship into an FTE or that sort of thing?
Yeah, so we sit between the education and the job market, and we cater for 18 until you're pretty much the last breath. So it's not just the youngsters. So we have quite a lot of people who are looking for career transition and to transition into a new area. Just getting just doing a course is not enough. So they can come in and gain that experience, and they can then go and find a job. So they commit 2 to 3 hours per day for 60 volunteer days over a 3 months volunteer agreement, which can be extended. So they're not allowed to, we don't allow tech companies to have them full time. The whole idea is, it's not paid. It's a win-win. But if you try to get full time, then you are exploiting labor. So we sort of After a while, we worked out what the optimum is. And then, people can extend after that. And then if the company grows as a result and can offer jobs, then we hope they would. There are no conditions. We don't get commission or we don't take part. But companies have hired, including ourselves. So the whole idea is that, especially if you are bootstrapping, we can give a leg up in those early stages. So one of our companies used us for 20 months, and they recently raised a 1.6 million seed funding round. So that's probably the more, everybody resonate around money. So if you consider money as a success factor, so that's our best case study. But we have companies that truly believe in our model because they have no other way to get going. And we are learning all the time. I mean, it took us 13 months to realize that to unlock the talent pool, the first thing you should do is hire a HR, human resources volunteer. So, and then we later learned that actually, if you then plug a executive assistant with that could be a good combination to start with. Because most tech companies, tech founders think it's actually about building the product. The product is just what you sell, but you got to build a whole business, the marketing, sales, everything else. So what we've done is we go out to market and try to find people and get them to sign up as volunteers. So we got pretty much all the skill sets that a typical tech startup need. So we now got to get more tech companies in. And we really love to work with accelerators because accelerators, even venture studios, if people are open to that, because we are only in the, in terms of SkilledUp Life, we provide talent, and all the other helpful organizations around the world, especially accelerator, they give a bit of money, coaching, mentoring, but they don't have means of providing talent. We now got a talent pool, and our job is to go and find more and more people. The world, what's 7-8 billion people, right? So we only got 52,000, so we got a long way to go.
Great, thank you. Maybe I'll hit you up offline
Yeah,
to
sure,
take
sure.
some general
Okay.
learnings from what you're doing into what I'm doing next, and maybe bring a talent or two in the team. Thank you.
Anyone? I mean, the other thing we are doing is, for example, when I looked at early this year, if I looked at China was like 27th largest community within SkilledUp Life. And I sort of took a personal project to look at, we need to break into China about how we do that. So we actually start doing that. So we now got about 8 people in my own team. So what this also allow is that you could, provider, you can manage it. You could start building country teams, regional teams. So, going global or go to market strategy. Now you could build it different teams. So it's something that even if you're venture backed, you don't have the luxury of having 100 people. Obviously, you got to manage them. There's no limit to how many people you can have for just a small subscription.